Hi there, and welcome to My Life as a Notebook's first entry into the From the Notebook feature. From the Notebook is really just a fancy term for me saying I'm doing videos without Michaela. So, sorry, just me today. But yeah. So today I wanted to talk about something that I've seen on BookTube lately, and it got me thinking. Because Michaela and I have done our favorite videos of the year and our favorite books of the year, but since I haven't been reviewing a lot lately, I haven't really talked to you guys about my most disappointing books of the year. So I actually have my top 5 most disappointing books of this year, and a couple of them are disappointing because they were just not good, and some of them are just disappointing because they weren't as good as the previous books that I had read in the series, or they weren't as good as I wanted them to be. So the first book that I'm talking about is like my top disappointing book of the year, and that is Seeker by Arwen Ellis Dayton. And I did read this for my thesis, and I actually did review it on my blog. But I gave it 1 star because for all the potential that I think the book had, it was pretty awful. The main character wasn't great. She was supposed to be the strong female, but she wasn't. There's so many cliches like amnesia and love triangles, and it was just bad. And if I had been reading it for my thesis, I am honestly not sure I would have been able to get through it, because it was just so bad. Oh god. Been optioned for a movie as well, which is frightening. But what are you gonna do? My second most disappointing book this year was also for my thesis, unfortunately, and this one, I went into Seeker not really thinking it was going to be that great. I had read other reviews from people that I trusted, they hadn't really liked it at all. But the second one is Poison by Bridget Zinn. Also, have reviewed that on my blog, funnily enough. And like, it had a great premise. It had a great tone. I was just so excited about this book. And then I got it and I read it, and it was nothing like I had expected. The characters didn't turn out to be the people I thought they were going to be based on the blurb, and the plot was just really weird and strange, and took all the interesting things that it could have done and cast them out in favor of a really, really weird and creepy romance that I didn't really like. I read the book in 1 sitting. I enjoyed it. I laughed, but it was so weird and not what I wanted. It was just disappointing, and so I gave that 2 stars, I think, when I reviewed it, but it's this weird thing where I enjoyed it, but it wasn't anything that I wanted. It's this weird thing where I laughed, but it was weird, and just odd. Just very odd. So my third book is a disappointing debut, and this book isn't as bad as the first 2 that I've just mentioned, in my opinion, but it just wasn't what I expected. And that is Ember in the Ashes by Sabaa Tahir. It was a good book, and it gave Bibliomancy one of my favorite hangouts of all year because we laughed so hard. It also had a really great discussion, but it just didn't live up to the hype that I thought it was going to, and there were just really weird things like, using rape as a plot device, and yeah, that's kind of a spoiler, but at the same time, I wish I'd known that going into it, because I was honestly really shocked by how they dealt with that, and not necessarily a fan. There's a lot of potential in this book for Sabaa as a writer that I look forward to seeing her explore. I just don't think that Ember in the Ashes lived up to all of the expectations that the blogosphere and the book world really placed upon it. So my last 2 are books in series that didn't live up to the book that came before them. And the first one is Shadowscale by Rachel Hartman. This is the follow-up to Seraphina. And Seraphina was an amazing book. I loved it. It was traditional dragon fantasy that I had just wanted and needed. And so I read it. I was really excited. And then Shadowscale came out, and I grabbed it instantly. I got it in a hardcover. I was so excited. And then I read it, and it's not a bad book. It really is a good and enjoyable book, but the plot went in ways that I didn't necessarily want it to go, and so that was just disappointing. It didn't really grab a hold of all the things that I really loved about Serafina and really explore them. It kind of middled. And I guess that's what happens in a lot of trilogies is the second book isn't as good. And then like the first one's pretty good, and then hopefully you always hope that their third one is really good. But yeah, Shadow Scale wasn't a bad book. It was a good book, but it wasn't a great book, and that was sad for me because I had had such a great reaction to Serafina. Speaking of, when you hope last books and trilogies are going to be good, one of my other favorite videos of all time that Bibliomancy did in 2015 was our Bibliomancy episode on Daughter of Smoke and Bone. And you can go and you can watch that. It's great and I recommend it. What you might not know is that after that video, I went and I bought the next 2 books in the series immediately and I ran through them. I read them so fast. Daughter of Smoke and Bone was a good book. I liked it. The second book, I loved it. The third book is the book that makes this list. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail about Dreams of Gods and Monsters because it is the last book in the series, but the plot just got so convoluted and so crazy and so weird, and all of the action adventure that I had loved about the first 2 books and the lore got complicated or mislaid, or just I went from really enjoying the book to being really confused by the end, to the point where even in like the climactic scene I was skipping ahead just going, I don't understand what's happening anymore. And I don't know if that's a facet of how fast I read them, but considering that I got through the first 2 fine, there's just definitely something about that third book that was really disappointing to me, and that was really sad, because I really enjoyed the books up until that point. I still enjoy the series, but the final book just wasn't what I wanted. So I hope that you enjoyed this video as I talk about my top 5 disappointing books for this year. I have no idea what I'll do next week, but I'm sure that I'll be inspired by something bookish, or just be inspired to talk at my webcam ad nauseum. If you've read any of these books and you agree or disagree with me, please feel free to comment. If you want to have an immediate discussion with me, either catch me on social media or comment on my blog. The YouTube channel is Michaela, so if you comment there, I might not get to you as fast, but Michaela will let me know and we'll be able to talk, because I would love to talk about these books with someone. And if there's something I missed, if there's an argument you want to make, or if you agree with me, that's cool too. These posts are always kind of controversial, and I love starting conversations, so start a conversation with me. Thanks guys, talk to you soon.